Hey, aren't you that PBM?
Middleman, at your service, doctor.
Don't you get rebates that save money on medicines?
Oh, PBMs like me get big rebates.
So why do patients tell me they're worried about their costs?
No one says we have to share the savings with patients.
Congress should make sure medicine savings go directly to patients, not middlemen. Visit phrma.org/middlemen to learn more. Paid for by pharma.
Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. One of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
Back in 2016, most of the Trump presidential transition took place in Midtown New York.
Yeah, it's just a lot of more meetings for the president-elect. He's meeting with people across many different categories of the government. And
people like Anthony Scaramucci, that's whose voice you just heard, went in and out of Trump Tower. Politicians, business people, even Steve Harvey would head through that distinctive shiny lobby trailed by a pool of reporters. This time around, the vibe is very different.
Now, what's happening is Trump is at Mar-a-Lago, and he is having these meetings with people behind the scenes.
That's Teddy Schleifer, who covers politics and rich people for the New York Times.
And then a couple miles away, at the Trump transition offices in Palm Beach, there are a number of people who range from hired Trump aides to kind of friends of Elon Musk, who are all vetting candidates. And they're sort of doing this all in a very, very different way than 2016, where we had a lot of insight into what was happening, and because a lot of it was very, very public.
You wrote a piece recently where you had this anecdote about President Trump bringing Elon Musk and Larry Ellison into a meeting. Can you describe that scene for me?
So Larry Ellison is one of the richest people in the world, is not somebody who you think about every single day, but he lives in Florida. He lives actually very close to Mar-a-Lago. And Trump had both Larry Ellison and Elon Musk, who is a good friend of Ellison's, in his transition lair in Mar-a-Lago. And, this was, I think Trump was joking. We think Trump was like basically joking in a sort of joking, not joking way, where he's kind of talking to the room and he says something along the lines of like, I brought the 2 richest people in the world today to meet with you all. What did you guys bring? Ellison is not the second richest person in the world alongside Elon Musk, to fact check that, but whatever. And this is all in the tea room at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump is sort of just basking, I think, in the wealth that he has surrounded himself with at this point.
What does all of this signal to you about the way this administration is going to be run?
I think the point of our story and the reason we led with that anecdote was, Trump likes rich people. I mean, he is a rich guy. He surrounds himself with rich guys. Lots of his picks have been other rich guys. But I think what that moment tells me is just kind of the rise of the tech people specifically. And, this is something I've been writing about for 6 or 7 years now, sort of the increasing kind of power of the right wing in Silicon Valley. And, Ellison is from an older generation, right? I think he's about 80 years old. But around the transition, there are tons of people who are 30, who are 40, who are 20, who are basically coming from Silicon Valley and have these strong connections to Trump world. And they're helping run the transition in ways that would be surprising. Larry Ellison is not officially on the transition committee, nor frankly is Elon Musk. People forget. But there's kind of all these people who are from the tech industry who are rich and are playing this kind of hidden role in shaping the picks.
Today on the show, Teddy takes us behind the scenes at Mar-a-Lago to the group of Silicon Valley Trump whisperers influencing the second term, who they are, what they're doing, and what they want. I'm Lizzie O'Leary, and you're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states. This episode is brought to you by Public.com. Interest rates have fallen, but you can still lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at Public.com. That's a pretty big deal, because when rates drop, so can the interest you earn on your investment. A bond account allows you to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high-yield and investment-grade corporate bonds. So while other people are watching their returns shrink, you could be earning regular interest payments. But a yield is not locked in until you invest, so check it out. The good news is, it only takes a couple of minutes to sign up at Public.com. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account, only at public.com/whatnext. Brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. As of September 26, 2024, the average annualized yield to worst across the bond account is greater than 6%. Yield to worst is not guaranteed, not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit public.com/disclosures/bond-account for more info. There is, of course, an official Trump transition team. It's led by Howard Lutnick, the president-elect's pick for Commerce Secretary, and Linda McMahon, who he has tapped to lead the Education Department. And then there is the unofficial team, a group of people who largely orbit around Elon Musk.
You know, Musk is has like a sphere of influence is probably the best way to put it. You know, he obviously is like kind of a cult hero to lots of people in the world, frankly. And in Silicon Valley, even among kind of his friends, there's this kind of cultish, element to him where Musk is somebody who they make money with, somebody who they party with, somebody who they grew up with in some cases, who they founded companies with. A lot of these people are investors in Musk's own companies. So the cast of characters includes a lot of people who are not household names. Like someone like Sean McGuire is a name that I imagine most listeners have not heard of, but he's an investor in Sequoia Capital, which is kind of one of the main leading venture firms in Silicon Valley. And he's been very involved in interviews for the Pentagon. And that's because, to make no bones about it, it's because he has a relationship with Elon and Elon has brought him there, right? And there are lots of people like that. Someone named John Herring or Mark Pincus, who founded Zynga, or David Marcus, who is a kind of a crypto executive. There are lots of these people.
Then there are folks like Jared Birchall, the head of Elon Musk's family office. According to Teddy's reporting, Birchall has interviewed candidates for jobs at the State Department, despite having no experience in foreign affairs.
And you could ask yourself, who elected Jared Birchall? I mean, who elected Elon Musk, frankly? But there are all these kind of friends of Elon who have this influence in this administration, and they're not very, very well-known figures. And I'm not trying to be hyperbolic about it or say this is the worst thing in the world. I mean, this is the way the world works, which is if you play a key role in electing the next president, you have influence, and then you can use your influence to give influence to other people. And so a lot of these Musk friends have a lot of power right now, and they seem to be enjoying it.
Well, you're setting up really two questions I have, which is, number one, what business does the head of Elon's family office have vetting people for the State Department, number one. And number two, is there any precedent for this? Because in presidencies that I have covered or transitions that I have covered and remember, they were run much more like a transparent government or quasi-government operation.
I don't think there's a precedent for this in modern times. I mean, it's interesting because speaking of precedent, like I've talked with a lot of the people involved in this, like they definitely see a precedent. I mean, they see a precedent in, Abraham Lincoln team of rivals or best and the brightest that were kind of helping, presidential administrations, 50 to 100 years ago, or they see this as a Manhattan Project. And in fact, the word Manhattan Project has been used to describe the Musk government efficiency panel. The idea here being that all of these private sector individuals, and this goes to your first question, these private sector people who have technology shops in this case, but more broadly are successful individuals, can, rethink kind of the fundamental problems with government and do it better. And that is maybe naive, but it also reflects, I think, a belief that they have that government is not working in their opinion. And their inexperience is sort of the point, right? It's not like, crap, we wish we had Jared Burchell, but he doesn't happen to have any experience. I mean, like the point is that, at least from Musk's point of view, is that someone like Jared Burchell has experience in something else, right? In being a high competency person who helps Musk not have so much debt or whatnot. And who's to say that can't help choose a good State Department executive? I mean, that sort of is the idea.
Do we have a sense of what all of their roles are? You mentioning Jared Burchell interviewing people. Mae Musk, Elon's mother, had a TV interview on Fox. She said she likes to sit in on meetings. And I feel like it's really hard to know what to make of that. Is that, I just wanted to peek in and see what my son is up to? Or is this someone who has absolutely no experience in this arena, doing a role that is otherwise often done by more experienced political hands?
Yeah, I think I guess one thing, Lizzie, I want to make clear is like there are experienced political hands doing this too.
Yes. There is an actual transition team.
Right. It is not as if this is the entire transition team. But, I think what you're getting at is like, what are these, what's the impact of this? Like, what do these people want? What are they doing here? Like, are they just, I think to some extent they are just vetting existing candidates. Like, I haven't really seen that many examples, frankly. I don't know if this is going to make people feel better of like, well, Trump was going to name this person Secretary of Defense, but then like all the tech people said like, nah, let's do this guy instead. And then like I feel like generally they're weighing in on the existing options. But they do have clear policy priorities. I mean, and these are not going to be surprising. I mean, in general, this group, and I'm definitely casting, this is a generality here. They are in favor of less government regulation, especially on industries that matter to the tech industry, such as crypto and AI. A lot of them have been involved in Defense Department things specifically, and in general, they're pushing for kind of more of a role for private contractors, companies like Anduril or Palantir. So kind of a more Silicon Valley inflected view of defense spending and defense technology. They were involved with candidates like the FTC selection that happened this week. So sort of antitrust concerns. I haven't found anything like terribly surprising where all the tech people are pushing for X, Y, or Z. Oftentimes they're pushing for candidates they like, candidates they don't like. But like, it's not as if they are running the transition or putting entirely new people in or, encouraging, America to annex Pluto.
When we come back, vetting and strategy and conflicts of interest. Oh my.
This episode is brought to you by Public. Did you know you can lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at public.com? The Federal Reserve announced another rate cut, and there could be more rate cuts this year and in 2025 as well. That's good news if you're looking to buy a home, but it might not be so good for the interest you earn on your cash. So, if you want to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment grade bonds, check out public.com. It only takes a couple of minutes to sign up. And once you lock in your yield, you can earn regular interest payments even as rates decline. Lock in a 6% or higher yield with a bond account at public.com/what next. But remember, your yield is not locked in until you invest. Brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. As of September 26, 2024, the average annualized yield to worst across the bond account is greater than 6%. Yield to worst is not guaranteed, not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit public.com/disclosures/bond-account for more info.
Innovation is important to the future of many businesses, and processes need to be clear, fast, and ultimately more productive. Take a big step to solving these problems with the Innovation Workspace from Miro. The Innovation Workspace comes loaded with AI-enabled tools to help teams get from idea to output faster. Miro's Innovation Workspace will help your teams accelerate through the full innovation development cycle by helping them to be faster, more productive, and ultimately more effective. Its new AI-powered tools and features can visualize tasks ahead, condense documents to produce summaries in seconds, and even create complex diagrams and flowcharts using natural language. It's designed to complement and sync with existing apps and platforms you use every day, like Jira and Azure, so everything operates smoothly and easily, and everyone's on the same page to rapidly innovate, iterate, develop, and ship. Whether you work in innovation, product design, engineering, UX, Agile, or IT, bring your teams to Miro's revolutionary Innovation Workspace and be faster from idea to outcome. Go to Miro.com to find out how. That's MIRO.com.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
One of the things that I think is really interesting here is that with pretty much any presidential campaign in the modern era, you have some degree of donor service, right? Like you mentioned ambassadorships, or, oh, someone gives a big amount of money and they are featured at this particular inaugural ball, or they have good seats for the inauguration. So what I'm trying to tease out a little bit is how much of this is donor service. Hey, you guys helped us out, therefore you get to hang out and be where the action is. And how much of it is, hey, we're going to actually have you interviewing our candidates.
Yeah. I think it's evolved. And I don't know to what extent, Trump let the fox into the henhouse here to some extent. I mean, like, he clearly wanted Elon. It started with Elon, right? Elon spends all this money on the presidential election. He ends up having this power,
$250 million.
Yeah, and then suddenly Elon's at Mar-a-Lago, and then he's, I remember, we reported, Maggie Haberman and I, the first night that like Elon was going to the election party, and that was like a big scoop, right? For like those 5 hours or whatever it was, and then like he never left, right? I mean, like the real story in retrospect was like Elon is going to be spending the next couple of weeks here. It wasn't like Elon is spending a couple hours here. I think one good question is like, there's been some reporting, some of it I haven't totally agreed with, but about like the extent to which Trump has been annoyed by these people and about Elon specifically, like why is he still here? But like you could see the argument to be made, like if you are a trusted Trump aide who, stuck with him through January 6th or, during the fought hard in Iowa and knocked on doors, or proverbially knocked on doors or whatever, and then suddenly you have like random Elon Musk friend who has never really worked hard for Trump. They've worked hard to cultivate a relationship with Elon. You could be like, why are these people just equal to me in choosing the next Secretary of State? So you see the potential for conflict in terms of why all these people ended up here in the first place.
Well, let's talk about the potential for conflict of interest, because you have people who have interests in, you named two military tech companies, right? Anduril, Palantir. There are people involved who also stand to gain from any formal or informal alliance with the Trump administration. I wonder how that translates both in the next 4 years, but then also how that might translate back in Silicon Valley. So-and-so has the ear of the administration, so we better take what he has to say even more seriously.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, conflicts of interest are part of what happens when private sector people get involved in politics and government. Like, I think, I don't want to say it's much ado about nothing, but I do think that these things are managed all the time. The conflicts are managed, and if you to me, it's table stakes when you have someone that rich, or any of Elon's friends who are as complicated and have as complicated financial pictures as lots of venture capitalists do. Like, there are conflicts to manage, and I think what's unique about this crew is that they're not, it's not clear that they're taking formal positions in government where those conflicts need to be managed or will be managed or are thought to have, that where management of the conflicts is seen as important.
Certainly in the past, it has been seen that way.
Right, but those have been full-time positions, right, where it's like, okay, if Elon Musk was becoming Secretary of Treasury, right, we would know that Elon Musk would be divesting, and there's, tons of people on Wall Street have gone to become Secretary of Treasury. There's a tradition and laws that govern how this happens, right? I think what's unique with the tech people, and frankly with the Doge department that Elon is talking about, is it's not really clear if these people are government employees, and so it's not really clear how the conflicts are going to be managed at all. Like, Trump named the other day David Sachs, who's another character here, and is a very, very close friend of Elon Musk's. David Sachs was named the AI and crypto czar. But then it became clear within a couple hours that it wasn't actually a full-time position. And he's staying at his venture capital firm, which has investments in AI and crypto. And I mean, I don't have the answers here, but like, that's a conflict you would think you would say like, oh, that's a conflict to manage. But is it? Because it's not a full-time job. And like,
right.
Is it actually going to be managed? Or not? I mean, I genuinely don't know the answers here. But to me, I think what's unique about the tech people's involvement is that it is being done outside of the normal disclosure regime, or appears to be right now.
One of the things that you have followed so closely over the last several years is the way a certain group of people in Silicon Valley have become interested in conservatism, or even more so, and then really become interested in Donald Trump. And there's been a fascinating thing that happened right around the election, and then even after, where you have high-profile tech people kind of loudly declaring their fealty, congratulating him, like Jeff Bezos did, or the Wall Street Journal just reported that Mark Zuckerberg is donating $1 million to the inaugural fund. Is this an awareness among some people in Silicon Valley that Trump was not a huge fan of them beforehand? Are they, is this butt covering? Is this, please don't prosecute me? Like, I'm trying to understand. Or is this a political evolution?
I think it's genuine. I mean, I think for lots of wealthy people, a lot of the story starts with COVID. And this sense that, like, things were out of control and they were misled by the media and misled by the scientific establishment. And, pre-COVID also, there was this sense in Silicon Valley from 2015 to 2020 that, like, people were out to get them, like this kind of victim mentality. And, obviously there was, much more antitrust scrutiny on kind of tech companies. And, and lots of wealthy people felt the media was writing too many hit pieces. And, this sense that that things had gotten out of control in their perspective. And then that leads to, the election of Biden and sort of, all the economic concerns that, frankly, not just billionaires had, but regular people had too. And then you have Trump come into office or come into the Republican nomination at the beginning of this year.
The Trump campaign also made a point of appealing to leaders in the tech world.
There was a reason that these people weren't supporting Trump during the Republican primary. But, like Trump on crypto, Trump used to not really be pro crypto. And then he sort of realized, I don't know if he really cared about that issue that much, but, he just saw that, okay, there's a bunch of rich people who care a lot about this issue who don't like Joe Biden. Like, let's be more pro crypto, right? Or AI. Like, I don't know if Trump is a expert on the issue, but like he sees the energy around this and, suddenly he's talking about AI and he's talking about China and, certainly the selection of J.D. Vance as a VP nominee. And then you had the involvement of Elon and sort of, it all flowed from there. So I think it was both macro context, but also some intentional decisions made by Trump, also intentional decisions made by Biden, to not, and then to Harris to a lesser extent, to not really welcome these people in as much as he could have. I mean, this much has been made about Elon's political transformation. And there's certainly Democrats today who wish that this had gone differently, right? And wish that Biden or Harris or Obama or Clinton, had done a better job of playing kind of the politics with them and making sure that these tech leaders did not spend $250 million to elect the other guy.
One thing that does stand out here is just the amount of money and billionaires involved. It's maybe not surprising for modern politics, but it is at odds with the kind of populism Trump claimed to represent on the campaign trail.
I'm not surprised. I'll put it that way, right? I mean, I think Trump clearly respects rich people just fundamentally, and especially this is an interesting point that a Trump person made to me once about the Elon relationship, where it's like Trump really respects rich people, especially when he doesn't really know what they're doing. Like he doesn't know their field, right? And like, when Trump, like, why did Trump go to the Elon SpaceX launch, in Texas? It's like big crazy rocket going on the air. What's going on? Like, this is not like real estate, right? Or a field that Trump knows a lot about. And I feel like, well, this has been told to me that part of the reason Trump kind of likes Elon so much is like he's learning about, or he's impressed by the big explosions and big cars and all that stuff. Trump also, I know, like, it's another anecdote that I have reported is David Sachs, I mentioned a few moments ago, hosted this fundraiser for Trump in San Francisco in June. And like Trump was very impressed by Sachs's house, right? And like there's an element of like, oh, rich guy likes to see fancy things and he equates wealth with success. And for all the populist rhetoric, I mean, like that's just kind of the way Trump is. And that's kind of how he grew up in the business.
Teddy Schleifer, as always, thank you for talking with me.
You bet.
Teddy Schleifer covers politics for the New York Times. And that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell, Patrick Fort, Shayna Roth, and Ethan Oberman. Our show is edited by Paige Osborne. Alicia Montgomery is Vice President of Audio for Slate, and TBD is part of the larger What Next family. And if you like what you heard, the best way to support us is by joining Slate Plus. You get all your Slate podcasts ad-free, as well as exclusive bonus content. And it's a really nice holiday gift. All right, we will be back on Sunday with another episode. I'm Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks so much for listening.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. So at American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.